Yo, what's up? Whoop whoop. It's your boy, Killer J, coming back out with you with another edition of Whoops Up, Whoops Down, the Juggalo movie podcast, or whatever I feel like calling it today. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about Marvel, more of the MCU and the newest release of Thunderbolts, a film that I saw on Thursday, and I'm excited to talk about with you. So before we get that, let's get to some news. The biggest news I would have to say is that next week I'll be doing a interview with Will Gates for an episode on Clerks. We're gonna review Clerks and talk about that film, a film I haven't seen in about almost 10 years. It's been a while since I've seen Clerks. So it'd be nice to talk to Will Gates about it, who is a clerk, and get his perspective on it as well. Also, I will be doing a another interview. You get two this month with Humble Among as we go to Toxic Avenger 2. Also, some fresh things we're going to talk about on that one that I'm not going to spoil today, that I'm going to wait until the episode comes out. Oh, we get closer to the episode, we'll reveal some new stuff. Also, on May 17th is the Jugg Awards. The Jugg Awards will be coming back. I will keep you posted about that so you can get your votes in on the Jugg Awards. It's a perfect chance for us Juggalos to recognize other Juggalos who do so much for this community and be recognized for what they do for us as well. And maybe I can convince you to nominate me for some awards, but it's not a contest. It's all about giving recognition where it needs to be. So that's kind of the news right now. I'm gonna let you know that I'm not gonna watch every summer movie. This is not gonna be. I know the last 2 weeks, get Sinners and Thunderbolts, where we get new releases, but those were films I wanted to see. There's a lot of films this summer that I don't want to see, and maybe I'll do a live stream and discuss that. I want to do a live stream. That's a fact. Um, but we'll see. Well, that's the news. Let's get to the discussion of the MCU and hopefully answer the question: is there Marvel fatigue? I hopefully will answer that in the next portion with the review for Thunderbolts. Let's get to that. Let's get the show started properly and see if the film Thunderbolts gets a whoops up or a whoops down. Let's find out. It's pretty amazing to think that the Marvel MCU has only been around for less than 20 years. And it feels like it's been a part of our lives for a long time because it's seeped into our pop culture. It's everywhere around us. Every time we go to the movie, like superhero films are now like why you go to the movies now. And it kind of started with the MCU. In 2008, I mean, it was a great year for films. I mean, you got, in May, you had Iron Man, and then in July, you had The Dark Knight. Two films that like really pushed the genre into different ways. You had the gritty, dark reality Batman that spoke to our times, and then you have this like more comic book accurate, kind of expanding the world in Iron Man in that film, and kind of like what still is around is not the Christopher Nolan vision because like Zack Snyder ran that in the ground with his Justice League and everything. Where now DC is going in a whole different route. The Marvel template has still stayed, and no one hasn't duplicated that except for one project. I would say the MonsterVerse with Godzilla and Toho. That American version, I think, with bringing King Kong in, I think that's working. But no one has able to hit that MCU label. And sitting down and watching the Thunderbolts, it kind of got me to reflect a lot on where we started and where we're going. Because a lot of people used to have goodwill for Marvel, and I feel like a lot of that goodwill is gone. And that could be because of the TV series. And I think Marvel is just becoming oversaturated. You have the Disney Plus series, there's so much to watch. Characters are getting their own movies. It's crazy. But I don't actually, when I see a Marvel film, I just look at it as a roller coaster. I'm not trying to get more than what it's supposed to give me. Like I'm not expecting an Oscar level cinema art film thing. I'm not like not gonna get that. Now a director there has been directors who took over Marvel films that got me those things. You know, Ryan Coogler's Black Panther films are really fucking well made. Taika Waititi's Thor films have a sense of his style in it. Like I like when directors bring their own style into films. And I think the Thunderbolts is taking the team up films like The Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of like those templates, and trying to make it its own. And I feel as we get into the Thunderbolts, I would explain how I feel about that. But as like going into the film, I had to reflect on Marvel a little bit. And if you look at, look at these are like the Marvel films that came out prior. You know, a lot of good films here, but I would say not a lot of like trash films. And I feel like we are sometimes over criticizing films that are not aiming to be that thing. Right? If I think Marvel is meant to, you know, be a roller coaster ride, and you can pick and choose which films you want to watch. You don't have to watch all these films. There's films in the phase two that took me a while to watch before I got to the Avengers. Um, Avengers 2. Sorry. Um, and this one with the multiverse, I think people have a problem with the multiverse. I think the reason why this level of Marvel hasn't felt right, because I don't feel like they never recovered from COVID. I think they had a plan, and COVID ruined it. And they wanted to make films, and they tried to. People would say DI, like DEI and wokeness. Like, stop it. Like, that is so ridiculous. It's not about that. So, MCU is like they're making the films, and they can make the characters whatever they want. Having diverse characters, and now setting up with a multiverse, I really don't give a shit what they do, because they can always give the thing that you want at any time, because they've already said that there is a multiverse. So what that this character used to be white and is now black? It doesn't matter anymore. Like, you can still have that character on the comic book strip. It's an adaptation. They're adapting your favorite characters into a story that they want to fit in. So I mean, and then I think that's what it is too, is like the whole divisiveness of diversity and wokeness that seeps into our films, where people don't like certain changes. But I don't think we are really. What I'm trying to say is that we need to be less critical of Marvel, and allow it to be surface level stuff. Not everything has to be super as deep. Maybe there's certain things that can be washed over, like as you're drinking your favorite Fago. You have your favorites, and you have your not, but you respect the brand. I think still the Marvel brand is still good, because I still think they still put out quality films when they need to. And let's get to the Thunderbolts. So if you look here are the Thunderbolts, and I'll explain what the asterisk is for. But if you don't know who these characters are, which is very shocking, so you have Elaine, who is Black Widow's sister. You have Bucky Barnes, of course, Winter Soldier. Here's the new Captain America that was introduced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So it's kind of like you have to watch that series to watch that. Here's Ghost from Ant-Man 2, a character I didn't think I would ever see again. Here we are. Here is the Red and Crimson, who also was introduced into that Black Widow solo film, which I filmed that I was disappointed in, but I enjoyed these two characters, so I'm glad that they brought it back. And then there's Taskmaster from that film too. And here's Bob. And Bob is going to be a very important character in the film that I'm not going to spoil. So let's go to the IMDb page here. So IMDb states that Thunderbolts is about this. After finding themselves ensnared in a death trap, an unconventional team of anti-heroes must embark on the dangerous missions that will force them to confront the darkness corners of their past. The thing about this film that really resonates with me is that Florence Pugh is the star. The film is about her. Yeah, it's a team up movie, but it's more about her journey. especially after the events of Black Widow. She was in Hawkeye as well, the Hawkeye series, and her journey continues, especially with her relationships with Valentina Valeria de Fontaine, Julius Louis Dreyfus character. Um, it's about like finding meaning in life. Like sometimes you can put yourself into work so much to the point where like you feel numb, and it deals with the thing of depression, the darkness within us, and trying to come at it and trying to reinvent us outside the darkness. It's what the kind of what the film is really about, and each character. I mean, yeah, Bob. But I'm not gonna tell much about Bob. Bob is a secret, awesome character who the crowd absolutely loved. John Walker, Antonia. Uh, Actually, it's more like the Ava Star, John Walker, Elena all have dark paths, but it looks like Elena and John Walker kind of are dealing with a lot of darkness that the villain is kind of exploiting a little bit. Um, Bucky, his session is there. Is the key is just like he is in a different role in his life, and he's trying to change. All these characters were known as like or assassins, and the interesting thing about the film is that these characters we're following don't have superpowers. Kind of. John Walker's the only one who has a super serum, the super soldier serum, but not the like of Captain America. So he is kind of hindered by certain things too. He shoots guns. He uses a shield. But he's not. He doesn't have superpowers per se. Like he's not a Thor. He's not a god. There's a lot of these characters are kind of like sea-level characters are coming together, assassins who are put into a situation that causes them to be a team. And at this time, Valentina is her ploy is that post Endgame, right? The Avengers disbanded, so there's no one protecting the world. So her main goal is trying to find a replacement for the Avengers because they like since the events of Endgame, they're not around. They're just not around anymore. So we get so these people coming together is kind of has the semblance of the first Avengers movie, a semblance of the Guardians film, the semblance of the team up in Black Widow. Like these things, these cores are here from like echoes from other films are seeping into this one. I think it's causing a lot of goodwill because a lot of people joke that or say that Marvel jokes too much, and I think this movie is pretty funny. It's enjoyable, especially the chemistry with Elaine, Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son, um, the banter with where's he at? Where is he at? Where my boy at? Where is he at? David Harbour, who we know him from Stranger Things. He is fantastic. Every time he's on the screen, the dude lights up. And his relationship with Florence Pugh, like in Black Widow, was like top tier. Like I enjoyed it. And then the fact that they were able to bring it over and keep doing it. Now it does get a little goofy and maybe a little too much, especially with the situation with the villain. But man, I love this cast, and I think that it's a cast that really like moves the plot forward. This is a scene in the film right here. That's John Walker. He kind of looks like a Captain America. He's kind of a dark Captain America per se. And they're in this vote. There's ghosts behind there from the second film. Well, let's get to the actual trailer. You can see this film is well made. I can't deny the fact that this film is well made and it has a lot of remnants. They're really pushing on that Black Widow tie with Elaine. Everything. The trailers doing a good job, but you learn a lot about these characters and you feel compassion for them. By the time the ending happens, you're kind of like, wow, you feel like you're part of the team. But they would admit to themselves that they are losers. And I think it's because that here's a chance for them to do good and they're choosing to do it. There's a great scene when they save people and they get cheered and kind of like, oh, that's awesome. But it provides you what you think like a Marvel film should provide you: laughs, Um, the action, I'd say there's certain spots where it's good, but I think it's more. This is more of a character driven film, a more of a character study, especially when it comes to depression and how we deal with that. For moving on from trauma, which each character here deals with a type of trauma, and there's a void place that we go to that really deals with that, and we get a lot of backstory on Elaine a little bit, and yeah. So is it I think it's the same quality as a Guardians 2. I think this is a B level film, but when you watch this film, the prior to watching the film, Marvel is pushing Fantastic Four hard, hard dog. And to me, this film is almost like a placeholder until we get to the Fantastic Four. Like, do I feel like this film is important to watch? I think it'll make Avengers Doomsday make more sense because I think that's what they're gearing up towards. And this is kind of giving you a setting of how the world is moving post Endgame. Like you can watch Avengers Endgame and without and then watch this film. If you do the chronological order, I think this is a good sequel from that. But spoiling a lot of it, this film is the little darkness, but this is the team right here. Bucky is not my favorite Bucky performance, but it shows that Bucky is trying to move on with his life. His friend Steve Rogers is dead. His relationship with the Falcon, who's now the new Captain America, isn't the same as Steve Rogers. So he's feeling a little lonely. And now being a part of this team and stuff like that, you can see um, a new purpose for a lot of these characters. So this is kind of the review portion and kind of the discussion. Let's get to the next portion where I give the film a whoops up or a whoops down or maybe a whoops sideways. Who knows? Let's get to that next portion right now. Marvel's Thunderbolts is Marvel's triumphant return back to form. I think this is a film that will get people back on track with Marvel and feeling good as we barrel deep to Avengers Doomsday. I think we need to have that goodwill to get excited for an epic, you know, uh film that Doomsday and Secret War is offering because people are asking for a reset and stuff like that. I think we're going to get that, but we need to get to that build up of all this stuff first. And I think this is the start of the build up. This feels like um Captain America, the first Avenger. This what it feels like, kind of that setup before the Avengers. But Fantastic Four is the film that has like you know you need to watch kind of feel to it. But this film, I think, is still worth your time, especially because they give you characters you're not familiar with. And I think they do a really good job, and it's really anchored by Florence Pugh's character. I think she really what carries the film and makes you care about what's going on because they're humans and not superhumans. It makes it easy for us to relate to their problems, to their plight, to their triumphs. And I feel like it is definitely a whoops up territory. Whoops up for Thunderbolts, even though it's not not in the center's level, not Mickey 17 level, but I still think it's worth your time in a good way to start the summer movie season. It's gonna be a lot, yeah. So that's the review. Thanks. That's the episode. So if you are new here, please hit that subscribe button, that like button, that notification button when you where it will notify you when my next episode is. Still trying to see when I want to do live streams. I might even try to do Twitch live streams just to add a little different variety to it and not pigeonhole me to one outlet for vocaling my opinions and my creativity. Um, but we'll see. I'll keep you posted as things are going. But I love you guys. Thanks for your support. Whoop whoop. Much clown motherfucking love from the J Man right here. Whoop whoop.